I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The ocean can be a scary place. Our planet is made up of 80% water, which means there's far more ocean out there than land. We actually know a little bit more about the surface of the moon than we do our own waters. Isn't that crazy? Our seas always find new ways to surprise us. In today's video, we're talking about 10 unsettling things found in the middle of the ocean. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to The Supreme, and click the notification bell for more lit content. Let's get rolling. Number 10. The ball. What do you think this thing is? An alien? A crash-landed alien capsule? A downed hot air balloon? A real-life Pokemon out in the wild? A sea monster? I'd have so many questions. A fisherman off the coast of Western Australia found this unsettling object floating in the Indian Ocean. From afar, Mark Watkins was curious. As he got closer, the smell told him that it was a dead thing. The boatsman realized it must be a dead whale, just all bloated up from the gas in its stomach. Gross. It seems that sharks quickly joined the party, which was Mr. Watkins' cue to get out of there. Number 9. A whale funeral. So, speaking of whales, the gigantic rulers of the ocean, one sailor had a bizarre and heartbreaking experience when they found themselves an accidental guest at a whale funeral. There is a great Ask Reddit thread that called for sailors to share their weirdest experiences at sea. One Redditor wrote, "When I was off the coast of Japan in 2007, I watched a whale die. I couldn't tell the gender, but I remember hearing those faint whale cries that you can sometimes hear at night beneath the surface. The moon was full, and I could see it on top of the water. I saw other whales passing around it. Do whales have funerals? Because it felt like a vigil or saying goodbye. You could hear the faint puffs of the blowhole spraying out water in a labored way. I don't know if it was hurt or just old. These other whales made a few passes and then they left, and the whale wasn't spouting air anymore. This was all in a 15-minute period as we cruised past. I guess the whales may have been there longer, but I feel that they know that they don't want to stay around dead bodies for long. It was haunting and beautiful, and I don't think I had ever cried as much as I had that night." It turns out that the Redditor probably did stumble across a whale funeral. Orcas mourn their dead just like we do. They also have something a lot like a naming ceremony when new whales are born. What incredible creatures. Number 8. The Forgotten Battle. During a 3-day bombardment, the Allied forces completed Operation Hailstone as they destroyed the Imperial Japanese naval fleet at Chuk Lagoon. The United States and other Allied forces destroyed 2 cruisers, 4 destroyers, 6 auxiliary ships, 32 merchant ships, and over 250 aircraft. 4,500 Japanese army men were killed, with vast swaths of bodies lost to the water. Now, over 75 years later, evidence of the battle can still be found in the ocean. Skulls of the dead lay among barnacle-covered sunken boats, bullets, tanks, and other artillery. These days, the haunting spot is popular with scuba divers. I'm not sure I'd want to scuba dive around the scene of a historic battle. I'd find it, well, unsettling. Number 7. The Mariana Trench. How deep does the ocean get? Well, it turns out very deep. The Mariana Trench is the deepest part of the ocean we've ever found. The trench is located off the coast of Guam and is thought to be 36,201 feet deep. That is nearly 7 miles deep. Only 3 people have ever made it to the bottom of the trench, the Hadal Zone, named after the Greek god of the underworld, Hades. One of those people was movie director James Cameron. The reason so many people have explored this spooky area of the ocean is because the conditions are rough. The lower you get in the water, the more intense the pressure. At the bottom of the trench, the pressure is 8 tons per square inch, which is said to be roughly like 100 elephants standing on your head. Some creepy deep-sea creatures do live down there, although we still don't know too much about life so far down. Number 6. The RMS Titanic. Speaking of James Cameron, now feels like a good time on the list to talk about shipwrecks we found in the middle of the ocean. The most famous shipwreck of all time is arguably the RMS Titanic, As you probably know, the Titanic was a luxury ocean liner that set sail on her maiden voyage from England to New York on April 10, 1912. On the evening of April 14th, the ship hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank into the frigid waters within 2 hours and 40 minutes. As it was sinking, the ship split into 2 pieces that landed in separate areas of the ocean bed a few miles apart. 1,517 passengers died and just 706 survived. The ship's wreck wasn't located until 1985 and further surveyed in 1986. The first dive took place in 1987. Dives in 1993, 1994, 1996, 1998, and 2000 allowed historians to recover over 4,000 artifacts. James Cameron made 12 dives from 1995 as he prepared to make the blockbuster 1997 movie. When discussing his dives, Cameron claimed that one of the most haunting things about the wreck was the many pairs of discarded shoes he found. Number 5. The Neptune Memorial Reef. 46 feet down the surface of the water, 3 miles off the coast of Florida's Key Biscayne, there is an underwater graveyard. The Neptune Memorial Reef opened in 2007 and has room for 125,000 remains. Those who wish to be entered into the watery cemetery have their ashes mixed with cement. The remains make up part of the world's largest artificial reef, which is kind of beautiful as it means that marine life can thrive there. Also, why use land for the dead when there is plenty of space in the ocean? The underwater grave is accessible to scuba divers too, although I think I might be too scared to go exploring down there. Is there such a thing as underwater ghosts? Number 4. Dementors. When I read this story, I could only imagine how terrified the sailors aboard this boat must have been. This is another submission to the Ask Reddit thread calling for sailors to share their stories. One seafarer wrote, "It was a foggy night off the shore of Long Island, and I was on a 75-foot schooner. The fog was so thick that you couldn't see more than 10 feet in front of you. The captain tells me there's no point to continue my watch at the bow of the ship as he and I start talking at the stern. About that time, there was a thunk on the side of the ship. We both turned to see a figure dressed in black flowing robes walking towards us on the outside of the ship. The robes were scratching down the outside of the ship. It keeps coming closer and is high enough in the air that the top was about even with our heads. It turns out that it was just a black flag to mark a lobster pot. But for those first few seconds, it was terrifying." What a story! I know this turned out to have a logical explanation, but it must have been a hell of a fright. I'm not sure most ocean scare stories do have a rational explanation, but until a person knows what it's causing their terror, it isn't any less scary than seeing a real ghost. Number 3. St. Elmo's Fire. These days we know that oceanic phenomena, St. Elmo's Fire, comes from the perfect combination of atmospheric conditions and electric fields. And even if we don't really understand that, we can pretend to. In the earlier days of seafaring, people were truly freaked out to see a luminous plasma surrounding their boats at sea. They thought it was a ghostly blue fire enveloping their vessels, perhaps a sign of impending doom from a sea god or ghoul. Others saw it as a good sign, a divine glowing light sent from God to keep them safe aboard their ship. The strange blue fire mirage has been noted in history as far back as the Roman Empire. Charles Darwin wrote a particularly terrifying account in 1832 when he wrote, "Everything is in flames, the sky with lightning, the water with luminous particles, and even the very masts are pointed with a blue flame." That honestly sounds stressful. I'm glad we know what it is these days. Number 2. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. Something strange was discovered by Swedish-based salvage team Ocean X in 2011. The team found a 200-foot circular object with features resembling ramps and doors. They also claim to have been met with mysterious electrical interference. In 2012, sensationalist news publication The Daily Mail got hold of the story and published the news, presenting the object as a crash-landed UFO, or an underwater Stonehenge, or an underwater portal to a new dimension. Basically, they set conspiracists' tongues wagging. What the object is, We don't know. Myth-busting website Snopes says it's not an alien craft, but honestly, who knows? Nobody has been down deep enough to properly investigate the object except Ocean X, who were definitely freaked out by it. More rational-minded experts believed it could be a rock grouping from an Ice Age glacier, but what do you think it is? Number 1. UFO lights. Okay, I've got to admit, this one really freaked me out. In October 2019, a cluster of freaky lights were reported flying off the coast of North Carolina in the United States. Take a look. The video was recorded and uploaded to YouTube by William Guy and shows lights flying over the ocean in a formation. In the video, which has over 1.6 million views, people on board a ferry are heard discussing the mystery lights. It was suspected that the lights could be from a military base 125 miles west from the spot, although it was later confirmed by the base that no aircraft were in the area on that day. So what are the lights over the ocean? What and where are they coming from? Some people pointed out that the video was shot just a few hundred miles away from Bermuda Triangle, linking it to the mysterious spot. What do you think these are? That was 10 unsettling things found in the middle of the ocean. What do you think about this list? Have you guys ever been on a boat? Ever seen something weird? Let us know.